create.
Yeah, so on the gym fees, because I just thought that was a little high for the area. I called the Orono, the Old Town Y, and they are willing to give us a 20% discount. And so it would only be $36 a month for memberships from the town of Lincoln. So that would be a savings. So I know people would be concerned about driving. Also, the Old Town Y has a pool and an indoor track. So if we did have someone who was injured, that would be great options for them to get going rather than just lifting weights. So I think before we go joining one gym, or if that's the way it goes, I think we should investigate the cost of the gym that's in Millinocket and take the three, Millinocket, this one in town, and the one in Old Town, and combine the three, divide by three, and then pay out that amount of money for a membership, a gym membership, because $600 for a gym membership is very expensive, and I have been a gym rat most of my life. So it'd be $36 versus $50, and they'd have more things. But I understand not everyone wants to drive, but who knows where our offices will be coming from. So if they could go to one in Millinocket versus here, they may actually attend more when they're home or whatever, just to offer some, to really promote that fitness and health. Then with insurances, I called Geico, and my insurance would cover me if I'm driving from one place to another or to a class. If I was in an accident, there's no questions there. I couldn't travel with a patient car, but we've all known that one. And then I talked to Progressive, and I talked to the supervisor of New England, and his people only handle the cases that are over $100,000 and a lawyer is involved. And he said that the insurance follows the person, not the car, in the state of Maine. We're one of the few states that have that law, and that if I was like delivering something from Uber and I took it and delivered it, the Uber insurance company would cover me while I was driving then. But once that was out of my car, it'd be my insurance. So my insurance would, both those companies, Geico and Progressive, both said the person's insurance would cover them driving to a seminar or to another building or something like that. So.
As I think you've seen, we dug into this with MMA, who is our insurer. And the fact is, what we were telling you was correct, except for one detail. We're already paying for the coverage through MMA.
Yeah, I think that your point last time was that if they're driving their own vehicle, they're at risk.
Right.
Yes.
And I think what we've uncovered is that as long as they're insured through a private insurer, that they are covered.
I would say various companies might in various ways, but at any rate, through MMA, our people using their personal vehicle, being paid mileage to do town work, will be covered because we are buying that ad. Have it in for some time.
Right.
So it's a non-issue then.
So it's a non-issue. That's correct.
Exactly. So getting back to the vehicles, a question, whether we keep all those just so we've got vehicles on standby for folks to use, and that's prudent or not at this point. That was the driving force behind that.
I mean, just my take on it, I mean, that's really a council decision because they're gonna, I mean, we can say.
We can make a recommendation.
We recommend this or that, but yeah, when it comes to policy decision, they're gonna be setting policy.
Right. Right. And do remember, I was not saying keep them all, I was saying keep a few.
So should we make a recommendation, put on the record as far as to council?
I guess we just go down the line and because if it's majority's one way and then
I mean,
But the beginning point of this is the police chief is proposing to lease 5 cars. If that doesn't happen, then this question is no.
Right, but the more information they have to make decisions for council.
Yeah.
Council.
my
but if they don't
recommendation,
lease the 5, then they're spending about $80,000 for one vehicle.
Yeah.
So either way, we're spending the $80,000.
right.
I should say, unless the council decides not to do that. Go for it.
I guess I would recommend to the council that we keep maybe one or two of the lower mileage,
I think there was 3 of them that had
under 100,000.
sort of low miles, depending on what they have now compared to, yeah.
That's another question. Are we still paying on them? The lower mile ones, or we own them?
We own every
So-
cruiser that we have outright right now.
But they were bought with the idea that they were gonna have a life expectancy to them, so we're cutting some of the life expectancy short that we've already paid for.
I just didn't want to be paying lease on 5 and still have 2 or 3
Exactly.
years paying for it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the life, all my years, usually life expectancy is 3, maybe 4 years before you kind of, but in the first 2 years, I mean, it's sometimes putting 100,000 miles, almost 100, maybe 60, maybe 70,000 in 2 years. So you're hitting the max miles, rough miles pretty quickly within 3 years, 4 years, but we've used them for a lot longer. So
I guess my only point is, if you don't keep any, I've seen this with Dennis, he's got one of the old cruises now. If he has to take the pickup, the crew cab to go ride the roads to line up work, and the crew's got to take a dump truck, even if they want to put a street sign out. Whereas if he has the car, they can take the pickup, which is a lot cheaper than one. So to me, it makes sense to have a couple.
No, I think you're 100% great on. The issue is that you've got a vehicle you paid 80,000 for. And so most equipment companies would look at that and say, okay, you're gonna have so many hours of operation over that 80,000. So what you do is you come up with a rental rate to yourself, saying that vehicle's costing me $150 an hour or $75 an hour, whatever it works out to. So if you're 50% into that cost at this point, to just go ahead and say the other 50% is free, you're kidding yourself. You're not taking care of the books properly. It's not free. There's got to be a countable solution to put that into. It may not go into the fire or the police. It goes into another department, Public Works. But-
Code enforcement, assessing, they all use it.
Right, but the key is that function needs to be accountable for that vehicle. It's not free. And so you've got to come up with a rate to say, okay, that department's gonna pick up a vehicle and it's gonna cost them 20,000, whatever.
Which we are not doing at this time.
Right. That's my point.
I'm supportive of 1 to 2 cars too, probably 2, monitor how much they use, and if really 2 isn't used, then just keep 1.
I'm guessing like Wade now, when he uses his own, he must be paying mileage.
We're paying him mileage. He's opposed to the idea, but we're paying him mileage.
I mean, my opinion would be, if we're gonna lease 5, we keep 3, if we keep 4, like, I mean, it's not like if we go to resell these cars, we're gonna get bottom of the barrel money for it. So if we sold all the cars, we'd probably get like maybe $30,000-$40,000.
If
yeah.
Yeah, they don't
So-
go for much.
And that'd be because the ones that have the lowest miles might fetch a little bit more, but
I'll buy the one with 23,000 right now.
No.
A lot of people don't realize with police cars, but I've seen this to be sadly the truth everywhere. When a police car is going 30 miles an hour east and the vehicle that suddenly has their attention is going 40 miles an hour west, we'd like to think the police car will come to a full stop, turn around, so forth. The police car goes up over the curb, it's jammed into reverse, still going 15 miles an hour forward, and police cars eternally fail in the drivetrain. And that goes on everywhere. And I don't think there's a way to stop it, and I don't even know as we should be telling them that they have to behave differently. Which is why a police car with 100,000 miles on it is in a lot harder shape than your personal vehicle with 100,000 on it.
You're saying if we keep telling vehicles they're gonna have the high maintenance on them?
Well, let's keep the ones with the lowest mileage, but will they be like a program car that came from a lease? No.
Didn't expect it.
No. Talking about reality. Reality sometimes isn't fun.
My perspective always been, $2,000 or $3,000 a year maintenance, that's not bad. When you start getting to $15,000-$20,000 a year maintenance on a used vehicle,
Yes.
that's just throwing good money after bad, so, and that goes with any of the equipment,
Well, and if we kept 2 or 3 of these, and halfway through the year, we discovered that one of them was just plain ill, we wouldn't have it anymore.
I guess we still haven't come up with. Are you for or against leasing and keeping? Or
I'm for leasing and keeping 1 or 2, but have the departments that's going to use those vehicles be accountable on the cost of it.
I don't think it's really,
Yeah, I'm not sure the accounting system is set up to do,
because municipal is different than
yeah.
private, so like it's not like they have to account for the depreciation of a.
But all the departments that would be using it, because we're using personal vehicles right now, do have, funds for mileage,
Right.
and that could be used towards fuel for the vehicles. Oil changes, it would be the cost of the oil and things like that, at Public Works for the mechanic to do those for us, which would not be much. And like Rick said, if they get too expensive, then it just goes away.
Because yeah, I mean, the gas and maintenance, I mean, you're just offsetting mileage to gas and maintenance, but it's more of a benefit for employees, but
We probably can run a vehicle for less money per mile than what we are paying, because we are paying the federal mileage rate, which includes some purchase of the vehicle. We already own these, so I think we can run them for less than 65 cents.
There's 3 of them on the list, 22,000, 33,000, and 52, and then you jump up to 92,000 miles. So there's 3 in my head that would be worth keeping.
depending on what mileage is at the end of this budget.
And
Of what I saw.
you start getting over 100,000, you're gonna be maintenance costs, I would think.
And then again, the question of council, would be, if you give somebody a vehicle and then decide, yeah, we're not gonna replace it if it goes bad, then that's their
Back on
decision,
their
so,
personal vehicle then.
so.
Melissa, do you have any idea how many miles you pay for in a year?
Well, each department has theirs. For mine specifically, I have in there,
If you don't know, it's total.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I have like 900 miles in my budget, because it's the back and forth to the bank every
Right.
single day. And then if we go to a couple classes in
Right.
Augusta. Wade would have a lot more mileage in his, just because he's always out and about on inspections. He's got 6,000 miles on his.
Do we make it very clear that they're responsible for their own transportation?
Not clear enough.
So that comes as a surprise sometimes when you hire somebody, because some people are just not prepared to provide, like Wade, for example, if you're riding around in a sedan, and all of a sudden you're gonna be out in the middle of nowhere, you're gonna want something more reliable, that can get out on dirt road. So,
Any of them take the vehicle or something?
The only take-home vehicle we have this time is the police chief.
That's contract.
That's in the
Right.
contract, yes.
So would the recommendation be lease, but keep 1, 2 to maybe 3 if there's no miles?
Keep the 3 if if they're using them enough to make sense to keep them. If we're only running 2 cars, then might be 3, but you won't know that until you get them going. Because if you're only driving, if you're only covering 20,000 miles, is it really worth having 3 cars sitting in the parking lot?
When we had the electric ones, we had 2.
And was that enough?
Most days,
Most days, yeah, every now and then there was a time.
I was always through the short straw, going to the bank. I would relinquish to whoever had to go out on inspections.
But isn't like in the one Dennis has now, that's pretty old too. I know he had one before that was.
He had one before that was the case of, this isn't gonna go the year. But the one he's got now came from police. Is it particularly good? No. But is it running for now? Yes.
Something like that where that one got higher maintenance, like
Then
say
you
the
could
third
swap
one,
them.
yeah, you swap them and then, okay.
Is there a cutoff for maintenance? Like, it's like, okay, we down 15,000 this car for the year, we're getting rid of it? Do you have a cutoff in mind?
Well, if so one of these vehicles eats $15,000, I do have a cutoff and it will be gone.
Mine's 5.
You mentioned the 2 electric vehicles. Did the town actually have a station where you could charge it?
On the back wall of the building.
Who paid for that?
Down to
We installed it, it was on our electric bill
5,000 or 6,000, they want to say, but
for installation.
I don't know if it's that,
it might have been less, but it was
But you
Yeah.
couldn't see it in the electric bill.
no,
essentially for, even if you said 5,000 for what, 3 years for 2 vehicles, and we basically had almost no cost other than that.
Is it still usable? No?
yeah,
Just nobody uses it.
you're right, because we don't have the electric cars. And they're not unlocked, they're locked in the box because we don't want
Right.
just anybody coming and plugging their electric vehicle in and
Right.
We still provide a vehicle for animal control, that's changed.
We do.
But it sounds like we won't have animal control.
Well, there's a possibility that we won't be running animal control, we'll be contracting, yes.
But then if for some reason happens to be that it doesn't work out, then we would do a vehicle for
We'll be right back at it, yes.
Do anything else? Or
No, those are my 2 things.
Parks and Rec budget. Who has anything? Just go ahead.
You're leaving it done?
I thought they were done. I'm all set.
In the summertime, how many people you got just trying to keep track of?
30. We probably have, and it depends on how many apply that are really certified down there. 8 to 10 beach people for swimming lessons and lifeguarding and whatever. And doing basketball and soccer and cross country and whatever else we have. We probably have 10 or 12 there, but most of them don't get many hours because I've got family going at the same time that I've got soccer, at the same time I got basketball. So I gotta have you two do one, you two. So numbers wise, yes, there's a lot of them, but it's not necessarily a lot of hours for each one. And then at the cemetery, we usually have 8 to 10. And again, the newbies, not knowing how ambitious some of them will be, we don't give them 40 hours by any means. We give most of the newbies 10, 12, 14 hours a week. And then in busier times, or once they've shown that they're worth a little bit of money, we might increase their hours. In the same way when it comes to Balloon Fest. We have a lot of kids that work that, and the ones that get involved, and the ones that have produced things. And so we probably have close to 30 people, not just kids, because we have got some adults that are at the cemetery, some that are on the playground, and 3 that are at the beach. Well, I say no. Have Teddy maintenance / sexton that's year round. And Kelsey that's in the office, yeah. And that's it, yeah. That's the end of full time. The only other people, we have 3 or 4 people that we pay a stipend for doing winter cheering or football or whatever the case may be. And then summertime, is a big,
You have one who was a full-time employee half the year and their
Yeah.
public works the other half of the year.
correct.
That's cemetery, or cemetery.
Yep. Cemetery coordinator, director, whatever, I don't know what we even call him, but
Cemetery supervisor.
cemetery supervisor, yeah. Correct.
I mean, the cemetery is all closed, no. Is it funny?
The only one with selling new lots in Park Street area. And there is plenty of room there, but it needs to be surveyed sometime and cleared, the other section cleared. Back towards the Public Works building, that needs to be surveyed. And down closer to the transfer station, that area needs to be cleared. And I know this sounds awful, but we aren't using full-size burials like we used to, with the number of cremations and the number of people that aren't even doing anything. They're being cremated and taken home. So, I mean, I bet in the last 2 years, cremations outdo full-size burials 3-1.
I found it, 7 lots over there and 3 are taken, and I guarantee you the other 4 aren't gonna be taken.
And that's just it. And you, with the cremation, you can place them on top of a full-size casket. Or we can put 3 in one. I mean, it's the way to go if you're concerned at all.
Lincoln News decided they needed more money.
Well, the one that hurt me there, I believe, is February when they advertised my position. Advertising recruit me out. That biggie is, you wait and I can tell you exactly what it was, $323 to try to find somebody to come into this spot. So the rest of it was public notice for the cemetery, ads for summer employment, but those only totaled $170.
I think he's looking at what your request is. You went from 200 to 300.
Oh, all right. Yeah,
Yes,
and that's the reason why, not knowing,
Rates
yes, they did go up, but the reason we were high and I was scared, if this guy that's hired decides to quit in 9 months, then we're gonna be short again.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Is it been a problem now, like to get lifeguards and stuff?
Yep.
Lifeguard is the only, I told kids that we interviewed today, and they actually were kids, so I can say that. Kids that we interviewed today, I used the example of, can't hire everybody. I said, as an example, at the cemetery, we have 6 people coming back that worked last year that were all right. So we're gonna hire 3 or 4 more. I had 23 people apply to work at the cemetery. So, I mean, there's not a problem. Find somebody that you think's gonna be good, and if it doesn't work out, we got others. Out here to do farm league and T-ball and soccer and whatever, same deal. Everybody wants to go there. At the beach, I wanted to fill 5 spots, and we only had 4 people apply that were interested in doing it. And we even paid for their lifeguard training. We pay them per hour while they're at lifeguard training, not to drive to East Millinocket or to Old Town, but a matter of while they're in the class, we'll pay you for it. We'll pay for the lifeguarding class, and I tell the kids you can get 30 to 35 hours if it's a good week. If it's good weather, you can make 3 times as much money as you're gonna with the other. Well, no, I want to mow some grass, or no, I want to do farm league, and it's kind of okay. We need you, but Yes, I do. To answer your question, I find it much more difficult to get a lifeguard.
All the, all the mowers and trimmers and all the equipment that you got, that's still good working order.
And I say that we replace every year. I just talked to Lou yesterday, and we're gonna replace one of the weed whackers or trimmers, whatever you wanna call it, this year right now, because there's one that, when they started it up this spring, had to have this, that, and whatever, and said, no, for $300, it's gonna be cheaper to buy a new one than it is to spend $250 and repair it and find out it doesn't work any better. So yeah, we usually, most years, will buy one or two weed whackers, and every couple of years, buy a zero turn. And we don't even, I don't know if we own a push mower anymore. You know, I mean, we used to do that 20 years ago. We had push mowers over there, but there again, we didn't maintain as well either.
Yeah. Cause you got one pickup and a trailer that gets all your mowers and stuff around town.
You know, we actually have two pickups. And in the wintertime, Public Works uses one for their fuel that they have to take to wherever people need. But during the summer months, we have two of them because we do have, like I said, most days, 6 people are working, and okay, we'll put you 2 over here, even though we just mowed over there, because you can walk over, and the rest of us are going something. So anyway, but yes, we have one trailer, so we can trailer the zero turns, and then one that never has a trailer. See if some mileage under this one, or that's something if we had any extra cars that they could use as well, is that? I would guess yes, and I was thinking of that as you guys were talking of it. We could put trimmers in the back of a car, as in the tail end of the car. Or if it was designed so we could haul a trailer, but we could use it for transportation, yes, by all means. But when we go to North Lincoln and have to mow, yeah, we're gonna have to take the truck and trailer. Take the truck and trailer, but then you're taking more people. Two or three to go with them, yep, could do
If you
that.
had more than that, some could take a car.
Just a lot of times, I'd say, what we could do with 2 vehicles up there is one of them could continue on using North Lincoln as an example. While they're mowing and trimming at North Lincoln, somebody can go to Long Pond, boat landing, and take 10 minutes to trim that, you know, so I mean, and we don't make an extra trip. We don't do it in 2 days. Say, yeah, go up, do North Lincoln Cemetery, now tomorrow go up and do the boat landing, but it would just make it easier, yeah, send 2 guys out of there and they come back and help. But it would be a possibility that would be useful.
And do you, trim all the boat landings?
Even out to the Narrows.
No boat Folsom Pond?
Yes, we go out there, yep.
Well, you don't do the boat landing.
Uh,
Not all, if it is.
not very often. to answer that question. And that's the same way
Yeah.
he mentions of at the dam.
Right,
We don't, last year, there was a time we went out there, but the grass was
Right.
this high. So, you know, that isn't, and not snubbing Folsom area.
right,
But when they go by this main cemetery
Right.
and see that much grass,
right,
they call and complain where
right.
who's gonna see the Folsom boat launch or the Folsom Dam?
That's just a yearly thing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well, I know at one time we had a trash can out there. And
Yep.
when your son was in charge, I said, you know, we don't care about the trash can, take it away. Because it was, you know, drive out there to empty trash can,
Yep.
so they took it away. But then I think we kind of got forgotten. So
Yep.
it's good to know that they go out there at least a couple times, maybe once a month.
I
or something.
will add that to the list.
Okay, thank you.
Because like I say, and I remember we had a trash can out there when I was here 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Right, and people abuse it.
Yep, and half the time we'd go out and fish it out of the water.
Right, so I told, I said, you can take it. We'd rather not have it there than have boat canvases and
Yep.
needles and everything else.
the rat truck that, you replaced.
With any of those sedans, do you need like a half-ton truck? Do you?
Well, truck would make more sense. Could we do with something else? You know, we could do with an Escort if we had to, as in a car Escort, not a personal Escort. But, you know, but yeah, ideally, it makes it a heck of a lot easier when we've got stuff that we've got to take away.
Yeah.
Either way, you know.
Well, I was thinking probably none of the cruisers have tow packages on them,
Yeah.
but to put a tow package on with a light-duty trailer, I'm not sure what you're looking to drag around or anything like that, whether that would make sense.
Yeah.
Trailer would be a lot less expensive than, you
Yep. Yep, that's a possibility.
know, it's just one, I don't know how heavy the zero-turn mowers are, but
Good size, but I can't answer the question. I do not know the weight of this.
I mean, a lot of those SUVs, you see them pulling campers down the road too, so I don't know what the ton weight on some of those are rated, but just a thought.
Well, if there was a tow hitch on one of them, at least it'd be a backup in an emergency if the truck, if the truck.
That's right, and we had that, one of the trucks, I don't remember which one anyway, last summer, yeah, was in major need of work, failed the inspection.
Yeah.
Took an $800 bill to fix it, yeah, in the 2 or 3 days that it was out of commission, it, okay, again, just like we talked about before, to lug kids around even.
Right.
Okay, yeah, well, what are we gonna do with you guys? Why don't you take the next 2 days off, and you 3 or 4 guys will keep, because we've got a vehicle that can lug you around.
See your old walk and you're getting 65 cents a mile.
I should. I requested that a few times, but town manager wouldn't bite at all. No. Really? That's right. But oh no.
That would be cheaper than 65 cents.
Is there any capital item for?
Yep. Towards a truck and a zero turn. 15,000 to put aside for a truck whenever that happens. and-
Page 100.
Oh, sorry.
I know he jumped way ahead, but it's on page 100.
5,000 for zero turn. We may, the hope is to wait until FY '26 to make sure we've got money enough to initiate budget, but we're in need of, we should have bought a zero turn in FY '25, and I still may have to, but we'd kind of like to wait till
I
26.
see there's two. There's one in the actual budget for rec truck for 10,000, and then there's a capital one for a truck for 15,000. Is that the same thing or two separate trucks?
That, well, we're closing in on needing 2, so I thought, hey, we can put it aside, you know.
But that one should, the one in the actual budget should come out then and go
It
to,
should.
what is that, 30,000?
Where do you have that?
Very last-
0610,
Keep going.
page 83.
Very last page. I remember that. You approved it? You put
No,
it
I
in
did
there.
not approve
You
it.
typed it in. I couldn't have screwed that up. Tell her, Kathy.
Take the blame.
So your request is then 30,000?
Yes, it would be 30,000 in capital.
I mean, just a thought, I mean, it would be nice to replace both trucks, get there quicker, but if we're gonna release new ones for police and then do some, maybe one, there's trailer hitch on, then we can take 10,000 out. Or go for one. How much is in the already saved for new truck?
I can't tell you that. But
I don't believe you have anything saved for the new truck.
No.
last year we did not because we thought we were all right, but and then Rick and I talked and said, yep, should be something in there. But it was after the fact, so that's why I tried to do double. Just to make up for
What's
missing
fine, you
last
just
year.
can't put it
Well, it
in
shows,
places.
it shows 5,000.
Yeah, it's been a few years since, you put any aside for a truck.
Because it's the 2018, I mean, I remember when we bought that, like, that's having issues now too? So I can't, I would,
That isn't as
On top of the thing.
many major issues by me, so that's just starting that process that you think, oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other one, the 15, is the other one the 15? Yeah, the 15 is,
This year?
let's say, it is 10 years old and it's used hard, both,
So this should
and
be.
there's no way around it on our
2025
trucks that I see.
versus 2026.
Because if we hire you six to work over there, you drive it today,
Oh,
and
he
Alan
does have
drives the other
seven.
one, then tomorrow, Steve's gonna drive one, and it's a matter of the number of drivers and it's not good, but I don't know a way around it.
And you are doing your purchase versus the.
Oh,
I would do
I
whatever
don't know where that 5,000
is the best
came from.
deal and best price.
Son in your pay
You know,
packet?
but I didn't have
I thought we
anything
added that.
planned on right now to either purchase or.
Yes, he does have 5,000. He snuck that in there last year too, into the regular budget. He does have
See?
5,000 for the truck.
Unless he's.
That wasn't in the capital,
No.
that's my
No,
problem.
we're not gonna. I'll make sure there's that 5 left, so we can put it over there.
if I remember correctly, the Dodge is two-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive, before you, saw it. We bought it.
Correct.
I remember we got a seal on it for like
Yep.
$17,000.
Yep. I believe you're correct. Yeah, maybe.
Current budget was 17,000 set aside for that new vehicle. Recreation equipment. Maybe it's not a vehicle. That's under capital.
Are you looking at last year's number, the 17,000? That is, or the current year,
Hmm.
that he had set aside for a,
Look like you managed to spend it all.
yeah, he has it designated as, not the pickup truck, a UTV, he had 5,000 and a zero-turn mower. So you currently have that in this budget. That wasn't designated as a pickup truck, but in his regular department budget, he does have 5,000 for a pickup.
And Bobcat is getting along in age, and like I say, that's been a great improvement on efficiency and all with digging graves, ones that we do, to be able to side by side.
Yeah, I think, one of those SUVs, one of the cruisers with a hitch on it and maybe a single axle trailer, because a single axle trailer would probably carry one zero turn, it probably won't carry two, but it would carry one and whatever else you may, weed whackers and all that stuff. They actually build racks on those trailers, to put your weed whackers
And
on.
that would be fine, like I say, on Half Township when we go out there. There isn't a lot of zero turn and there's not a lot of grass that grows at Half Township, but I mean, that would be a case where, yeah, if we could get one zero turn out there with a couple weed whackers, and
Yep.
that would be good use of our time.
Remind me, if I remember correctly, isn't one of those trucks used by Teddy in the winter to like?
Teddy uses one in the winter time and
Is
the
the,
other
I
one,
think it's the 2015.
the other one
has the
public
lift
works.
gate, right?
That's the newer one. That has the lift.
Right, which
That's the
Teddy,
newer one. Yeah.
2018 there.
the 18 is what Teddy uses in the winter time.
But the other one doesn't get used in the winter.
Yes, and it's used every day over there. with
Okay.
Public Works.
Oh, okay.
They hook up a fuel tank on the back of it until, I'd say 2 weeks ago, they finally thought snow was done and they took it off.
So then, a roundabout way, I mean, let's take a look at it, we'll take up to a trailer, like, might not work the best for public works in the winter.
But this is working for them now.
But if we're saying don't put money away for 2 trucks and just put money away for 1 truck and then use an SUV, may work, may not. But
But then also, like you mentioned, those SUVs are driven hard, so, you know, why not prepare that you know you're gonna need another truck? And you don't know the life expectancy of these SUVs, and lots of different drivers and.
Well, like
Right.
Ron indicated, I've seen his trailer before. He's got a big
Right.
trailer that you need to pick up for carrying 2 zero turns. Now, if you had a situation where you only need 1
Right.
zero turn, a small trailer and a hitch, and you're good to go, and, you know, anything under 100,000 miles, plus those police cruisers, I think, if they're like the state cruisers, they've got plenty of horsepower to pull those things.
I'd be okay with saying put 15,000 away for 1 truck and 5,000 or but not the other 10,000 for this year. And see how everything plays out, I guess. There's not a lot of, I'm not saying go through the budget, there's not a ton of it, so we can cut money, but I'd also make a note to the council that something that they should discuss and
Yeah.
determine.
That'd be based on the council approving the lease on the cruiser.
Yep.
Because I did look at different places to cut. And like I say, it's just, in my regular budget, 75% of the increase was because of minimum wage.
What's happens in the city is up to.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and minimum wage was 8.10, and he was getting 8. I think one of those deals. But yes, he got used hard for a long time, and it's nice to see he's getting a reasonable rate and benefits.
You want any other questions on Parks and Rec?
Just that easy? What a deal. Thank you, folks. I'll take most of my stuff. Yeah, I might leave something behind here, but.
We were gonna do personnel.
We already did all of them, yes.
So. Who's next? Who's next?
We're done today.
Are we done today?
You're done?
Well, then never mind.
Kathy has a.
Yeah, I have something. So I tried to listen to the last 2 sessions. I was on the road both times and it was really hard to hear. So I'm gonna listen to Melissa's because she said that's a good recording. But what concerns me is I didn't hear any, and I was supposed to be secretary for you and take notes. I didn't hear any suggestions for cutting back on any of the budgets. Did I hear that accurately? That as a group, you didn't have any suggestions for?
I made a couple, but didn't seem like it was heading in the right direction.
I've got some notes that I will, send to you, Kathy. Just anytime they discuss something, I just would write a little note in my budget book. So if I see anything from the last couple, I will send them your way.
One of the comments, and I know he's not here to defend himself, but when you hired him, I didn't know if there's prerequisites that came along saying, if I take the job, this is what I want.
Who are you referring to now?
The chief of police,
Okay. Yeah, there was nothing like that.
because right now they've got close to $7,000 a year in there for scheduling software. So we're going from a grease board to $7,000 a year software. And I've scheduled for 40 years and I've never used anything that's cost $7,000 every single
That was one of
year.
the things that caught my attention, and I didn't hear any pushback on that. Maybe I couldn't believe it. maybe I missed it, okay. But did the group agree that that's too much, or? I mean, I wanted to ask Chum how he did his scheduling for all the employees that he has.
Right.
I'm sure he doesn't have software to do
A
it.
sheet of paper and a pen.
Right. And Excel, so for example, I mean, there's $7,000 right there that I don't think we have to spend. And
The gym membership.
and she came in with the idea of the gym membership, and I don't know, I just didn't, I kind of feel like that this year is gonna be very difficult, and the council's gonna have a tough row, and the school budget's not looking happy either. And so, you know,
I mean, the other thing we had was the cameras that the officers use, which is a great idea. But he's saying that he needs a camera for every single person, that you can't, okay, I'm off the shift now, you gotta go on the shift, here's my camera. You take you pull the memory chips out, put your memory chip in, and accordingly, supposedly you can't link to it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm not a police officer.
As I understand it, the cameras wants to get are then linked to their weapon. So that when they draw the weapon, the camera is
Right.
automatically on.
Wasn't that already approved by council though? So,
Yeah, it was.
so that's not, they're already locked in this. We don't have any say in that, so council's already approved it.
How did they, you
They-
mean
They
last
approved
budget?
it last
A
month.
couple, last month,
Yeah.
the month before, so they've already approved it.
Last 60 days.
So signed the contract, I'm assuming, so. There's, I mean, we could discuss it if we don't think it's a good idea, but they're locked in and they've already spent the money, so.
Was that after that shooting?
Yes.
probably pushed through?
Yeah, it was.
I agree with Kathy. There's a lot of people that's gonna struggle to pay the taxes. Something, that anything can be cut, we need to.
I mean, I don't have a list.
Right.
I would like to make a list, just as a suggestion, and it's not up to this committee to decide. But I think we should be giving some suggestions to the council.
I would like to see somehow, I'm not sure how to go about it. I feel there's probably a surprising number of properties in town that have never been assessed. They're just paying lot fees. And
But
if we
there's-
wait till 2028 or 2029.
Right. And I mean, we can't really address that in this budget because
Right.
we don't have, the one thing we did as a group say is there's not enough money in here to pay for the reevaluation. And we did suggest increasing it, which is counter to what I just said. But if we want that reevaluation to move forward as quickly as possible, we better have the money put aside for it. But it just feels like there's gotta be something that can be done to keep this budget down.
It seems like if you had the map of the roads in town, just for somebody to go out and see how many properties match up with the tax map, how many are there that we're not showing, and just make a list to give to Ruth or the assessor. I mean, there's gotta be some way to get them paying. I feel like I'm paying for a lot of other people there, and half of them are laughing about it because they've never been caught up with it. And it seems like that 4 to 8 year
That
span.
could be one of our suggestions to council, we're adding more money to reassessing, we feel that they should fix this issue. And then it's up to, I mean, we can only make a suggestion, so.
One of the suggestions we could have is to provide Wade in additional, Wade in additional manpower to go out there and do what you say prior to having a reevaluation.
Some of the ones I found, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 or more each place in taxes, so I think it would add up and surprise you.
I mean, if we're just looking for areas to cut, I mean, one area is don't do new police cruisers or don't buy a new police cruiser. Make do. There's 80,000, but then start having issues and start dropping undesignated money towards repairs. So it's, like I said, just being on the council for so long, I know you could save money one area that looks good on the budget until
Right.
the budget goes through and then you start spending.
You got a cruiser that's got $167,000 on it, so you're gonna pay $80,000 to replace that cruiser. This lease deal basically says that in 5 years, you own all 5 cruisers for $1 each. And so what I don't know, because we were lacking in details, is what the maintenance on that. A lot of leases will cover a lot of the maintenance. So if something breaks down, there's no maintenance fee that you have to associate to that. And so the other part of it is what our maintenance program is for those vehicles, whether there's funds there that are going to be going away because now we don't have maintenance responsibilities. But without knowing the full details of the lease, it's hard to make that call.
But our suggestion to the council could be have all the details for when you meet and have all the maintenance records and
Yep.
make the decision on what's
And then
feasible
provide
financially.
the council with a copy of the lease agreement and it can be reviewed.
Because I mean, another area is don't do the third ambulance lease. There's 80,000. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but but then again, we don't have their ambulance. So, and if we're signing up more towns and need it, then so again,
I mean, the other question,
There are
and
areas.
again, I'm way out of my league, but I think the fire department says they have 5 full-time on 24/7. And again, out of my league, do we need 5 full-time 24/7?
well, they're in a union contract, so again, we can't even.
We don't have any say in that. They tell us how many people we are.
I mean, we can negotiate, but like
We
the
can
town can negotiate, but
we do negotiate with them against that. So, the reality is, we say we have 5 people on duty at all times. During the dead of night, we only have 4. Maine state law is a building on fire and we're gonna go approach it and go in it. Can't do it. Gotta have 4 at a minimum to do that. So if there's an ambulance gone and one of them's gone, we're the point, we can't approach that building. Now, if we have good reason to believe that there are humans in the building, then they can go and ignore the 4 2 in, 2 out, so-called. That comes down to what the officer on duty sees and whether he thinks this is the risk worth taking.
Does a call in come into play? You've got an ambulance out and you need another man. Do they have on-call?
We once had an on-call division. Almost no municipalities have them anymore. We actually are in better shape than some. We've got a half a dozen. But that's all. And so you put the tone out for the half dozen, you get 2, maybe.
that's where you will be mutual aid with Howland.
We have mutual aid with Howland. We don't have mutual aid with anybody else. And again, Howland continues to send ambulances far, far, far afield. And they don't have more people to fill in either.
When I went and walked through the station in the last, he was very accommodating. He has adjusted the rates, so he felt pretty strongly that the ambulance is gonna stop losing money and not doing some of the runs, because they only pay, like if it's from Bangor to Portland, it's one way. Like from here to Bangor, there's
only
nothing.
miles, yeah.
So they're not doing a lot of that, just trying to save, but both of the ambulances we have, you showed me, are pushing 90,000 miles. So I'm not sure if we wait, you're gonna end up buying 2 at once.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. We're looking at areas to
I'm
save
saying
money.
this.
I don't feel that you're saving any money.
He felt it, like going to the nursing home and stuff, now they're charging $300, I believe, to do a lift where they hadn't been charging anything.
And we've been doing that for at least quite a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah, year and a half, something like that.
And we discussed, because I've heard a lot out there in the public, people hate seeing the fire truck chase the ambulance. But like you said, if they send a man to help, and it's a lifting issue, because there's some bigger people that the 2 people on the ambulance necessarily can't lift. If they don't take the fire truck and the call comes in, then they've got to go back to the station. he's put some thought into it. I mean, I was happy with what he come up with, starting to charge other stuff and trying to at least break even, if not come out with a bit ahead.
I think, Kevin, I can't remember if you were on when we voted on the EMS, but my thought was always when we voted to start an EMS department was it's likely going to lose money. And what's the acceptable amount of money for it to lose? Because it's a service. It's not a money-making operation. It's never going to be a money-making operation. My thought was always, if it breaks even,
Hopefully break even.
I'm happy. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
If we make money to the positive, that's even better. But it's likely going to lose money no matter what.
Right, but we also had strongly suggested that the other towns pay closer to 100% of their fair share, and it's still at 80.
We have, in the last few weeks, changed the formula that the other towns pay, that 80% factor. There's no percentage factor. We have gotten to a flat fee per capita for fire, a flat fee per capita for EMS, and we have applied it to all of them. We've got a couple that still need to have a town meeting. We're in process of having that across the board. The fees we have been charging over the last few years were a bit helter-skelter. That element goes away, and we have given those numbers to Chester, Wynn, Woodville, Mattawamkeag. Thus far,
So, excuse me, so you've taken the discount, it's out
it's
of the
just not a
picture?
factor in the equation at this point. So, Mattawamkeag has not responded to us, and Woodville hasn't responded yet, though they were here this morning.
The other thing that he pointed out to me is, there's been a lot of calls in the past to outside towns, and if they didn't pick somebody up, there was no fee. But I believe now it's $300 or $400 you're gonna
If there is
charge.
no transport, it's a $300 fee, and that's true in all of those towns except Lincoln.
Yeah, we started that not long after we started doing that.
Yeah, not long.
Yeah, but, and again, my suggestion to council would be too, if these towns that we have fire, EMS, mostly fire, but the fire EMS contracts with, like, if Chester decides to leave, go to someone else, then I would let them, like, I think town policy should be, you leave this year and go somewhere else, and then you come back in 3 years because you don't like their price, you're paying us back for all the previous 3 years that you skipped out
The
on.
contracts we have out now, the newest ones, are 3-year contracts with a small increase each year. Have the towns that have seen that complained about it? Yes. But nevertheless, we've stuck to it, and at the moment,
So with the small increase though, like, so let's say some of the equipment dies. Now we go spend $2 million. Is that
based
factored
on
into
that,
the,
it's 10% a year.
so that
Second
wouldn't,
year, another 10.
it wouldn't be factored into the
No.
contract, so. That would be another suggestion for the council. Just you do a 3-year contract, but, I mean, I don't forget, unless there's an out, but it doesn't help now, but it's based on what our budget is. That's what your next year on.
We are still in the condition that if the two that are currently paying, Wynn and Chester, will both leave us, and they could, we'll be looking for nearly $300,000 from the taxpayers of Lincoln to continue to provide them the same service they get today.
But then if they leave and decide they don't like,
They want to come back, yes, there probably should be a penalty there.
yeah, like I said, the penalty would be, you pay for every year that you missed.
If they miss 10 years, it'll be a
Well, it's an incentive not to leave.
that'll be a tough go,
So-
yes.
So there would be 0 cost savings if they left?
No, it would be more cost to us. Cost savings, yeah, 100 gallons of diesel fuel and 5 guys who get called in the middle of the night sometime during the year. It's near nothing.
But we wouldn't need 3 ambulances because we'd only be taking care of Lincoln.
At that
So-
point, we'd be able to stay with 2 years.
I did ask Les if there'd be any difference if they walk through, we still need the same coverage and same things, and he said yes. He said it wouldn't make a difference whether they come or go. That way, for what we need to have available.
He said they would still have 5 on call.
Right. 2 in, 2 out. If we get rid of every other town we're working with, state law, 2 in, 2 out stands.
But Leslie tell us that Howland is charging more, would charge Chester more than what we're charging now, so we have room to.
We sort of have an informal agreement with Holland that we will not compete over these and get into a bidding war. We do not have a similar agreement with them.
And just as a resident, I would say, Chester wants to go to Lee, and we have to raise in an extra $100,000 and for taxes, but as soon as tree line catches on fire and they need call and Lincoln doesn't respond, they'll be changing pretty quick. So, roughly what they.
The more likely thing would be that Chester would go with Howland and Mattawamkeag, or maybe even Wynn would go with Lee. But again, that's not the case at this moment.
But again, we don't set the policy, council sets the policy, so.
Yes.
Right.
Last year, I had a conversation with an EMT who was convinced that the ambulances were bringing in $1 million a year into the town of Coppers. I don't know whether he was just hired.
When you go home, watch the news, and you'll hear people on the news tell you this, that, and the other, and they're well convinced of what they're telling you.
Well,
It doesn't have to be any basis in
I
truth.
realize that, but was that just a fluke? Is there EMTs and folks out there that actually think that they are making money for the town?
Yeah. I mean, they're making money, it's just
We'll
not.
bring in money. The question is it a fluff?
We have to do the change since the last meeting, so if we have them come in and see what they need to do.
Right,
Uh,
listed.
They did?
Yeah.
And
And they said the structure inside in the eaves was fine. No moisture, no signs of anything.
That's really, they talked about the roof being spongy, so they're gonna check it. Honestly.
And if we got other areas we want to discuss about cutting, we could mention to the council.
I don't have a complete list. I've been working on one. So we have another meeting yet, right? Two more, yeah.
We go at the end of the final meeting, go through and finalize what we want to recommend to the council.
I think that'd be a good thing.
Because we'll have the revenues now too, right?
yes, so we realize this is an expenditures budget, not a revenue budget.
Right, but if you have in mind the revenues that are gonna offset it eventually, yes.
To be honest with you, there's not a lot of increase in any of the revenues that I've looked at so far, including the state revenue sharing. I think it's like $30,000 more this year anticipated than the current year we're working on. Not a lot of increase in the revenues, a lot of increase in county budget, a lot of increase anticipated for the school budget. So, and we have no control over those two. But there was a very large increase in the county budget this year.
And I predict that will only go up for the next 10 years. When we build our new jail. We will build a new jail. We'll restore. They're now to $2 million a year for boarding up. Well, not long ago it was, say this, but it was only $1 million. Now it's $2 million. Northbrook County is gonna have to do something. They've asked the legislature to fund Northbrook County for a jail, but the legislature says, what about the 14 others? And that was the point. And so the legislature has offered nothing to do this.
So was there a reason that we took over all the boat landing from the state? I see we get 10,000 on the budgets for boat landing and repair.
I didn't know that we got them all from the state.
We've had them since I've been here.
Didn't we learn fisheries and wildlife to go like long pond, some of them?
Not that I ever know
I
that.
don't think so.
No.
The only one
No,
that
just Cold Spring.
changed not long after I got on the council, a few years after I got on the council, was the little narrows, like you got a piece of property from Gardner, Haynes, someone. But other than that, we own
Yeah,
them all.
There was a small piece from
Yeah.
Haynes.
Isn't that how you get Fulton? Isn't that from Hayden?
That might be the one that
Years ago.
it was. That might have been Folsom.
I've always been told Haynes gave that to the town or whatever, however it worked, but they put that boat landing in when they did the dam.
For me.
For me too.
I think the Little Narrows was leased
And then they gave
from
it to us.
Woody, and then it's lost. So. And then fisheries and wildlife.
Maybe it was grants or something, then someone would put in.
They've helped us with maintenance and some of the things to rebuild some of the boat landings, like the piling, the cement that goes down in.
Yeah.
Inland Fisheries has provided those in the past, but it's not their boat landings.
There. Kind of off topic, but one of the things we discussed was somewhere we want to put a boat landing, but we couldn't do it because it would disrupt the ecosystem. But the state could come in and just rip it all out and do whatever they wanted because it wouldn't disrupt the ecosystem. It's kind of just how it all works. Is there anything else that we want to talk about tonight? Yeah.
The dams at the town. Where is that getting the budget?
TIF budget.
It's in the TIF budget. Because I think that's something that's gonna be staring us in the face pretty soon, isn't it? Some major repairs on the dams.
Multiple of them need substantial repairs and substantial money. And we throw more money away, but compared to what we're gonna see for costs, it's only.
Just starting it last year, getting the engineering and then.
Right.
They gave us rough estimates on what, without an engineer report, you didn't know what it was gonna be, but it was like anywhere from what, like 2 million to like 10 million or something, like.
There's something in that. Right.
And then again, if we're talking about like future projects, like we have Taylor Street, Hale Street, all sewer drains need to be replaced because those are crumbling. You're talking millions of dollars for that. Sidewalks on from Hale Street up, but that can't be done until the storm drain system is replaced on Enfield Road, and that's going to be likely a state project with millions of dollars, and we'd pay whatever percentage of that. So, I mean, the town could have 10 or 15 million dollars in projects coming in the next like 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years.
I think that needs to be.
We're looking at 6 dams, this one, Folsom, Upper. We get stuff.
Bruce,
Some
if you can wait for Ruth during the TIF budget, yeah.
But it's more than what most people think.
Is Stump fixed? Because didn't we lose that one? They don't
We
really
lost a little pond up where,
That's what.
past the lumber was, but no,
That
Stump
wasn't
Pond has
ours, yeah.
not been repaired at all.
Oh, okay, so even, okay.
That's probably the worst one.
When we started to realize that town didn't even own the property that was sitting on. I think that was the first thing we had to do was buy the property. Or come into a lifelong lease with it. I'm not sure how it happened.
The rest of the schedule, so, that. We'll have Public Works, Transfer Station Tuesday, and then TIF Thursday. And I'm going to speak to Ruth tomorrow about printing the TIF budget so I can get them to you.
So you're swapping public works with TIF?
Oh, is it the other way around?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
Well,
it's
there we
TIF
go.
on Tuesday.
I guess TIF is Tuesday and I have to get those books out to you guys tomorrow, would be nice. I'll let everybody know. I have all your email addresses. If we have to switch it, we'll switch it.
That would be another way to buy you a little time.
Well, not me. I've got to get the books from Ruth.
I mean, I don't know how anyone else feels, but. I mean, there's been some stuff with the economic development, but we probably do all.
Probably could.
And then have a meeting if there's anything more.
There's quite a bit in public works. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, because it's actually 3. Public Works transfer, those are always 2 big ones. And then you've got the one, the landfill and the airport.
The other thing that concerns me is the fact that I think Ruth is going to be retiring. She mentions it to us, and I really don't think we're in a position to replace her anytime soon. That's something you have to deal with, because you don't run that trade overnight.
Well, when any of them leave, you have to go through the process and replace them. We have a new Parks and Recreation person Monday. Wade is done in another week. It's called enforcement. And on a short-term basis, I have hired Amanda to come back because she's fully certified to do code enforcement while we go out and advertise for a code enforcement person.
Wade's been done.
Yes.
All right, we can adjourn.
Since you're all already sad about that, I'm gonna be out of town starting the end of May. So I'll try to get my,
Now it's back on.
it wasn't